Welcome everybody to another edition of Spiritual Matters Thursdays here at the Daily Huddle. I'm your host, Dr. Monikah Ogando. I'm excited. I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today because the topic is, what is the role of community and or because it's two different things, culture, in your spiritual journey. And you may have seen this runaway hit movie that just came out a few weeks ago in the spring called Sinners. Anybody see Sinners? Put a 1 in the chat if you saw Sinners. And I thought that that movie was a perfect illustration of how community and culture are foundational to a real embodied spiritual journey. It's not optional, not a nice to have, foundational. Why do I say that? One is because community keeps you grounded. I don't care how aligned your chakras are. Without people to reflect you back to yourself, you'll end up living in your head or on a spiritual ego trip. A community calls you out when you're slipping, lifts you up when you forget who you are, and reminds you that the divine isn't just in your quiet time. It's in your relationships, it's in your rituals, it's in your receipts, right? Your receipts meaning how you spend your time, how you spend your money. I once tried to white knuckle my way through a spiritual awakening solo. Yeah. Meditating, journaling, shadow work in the dark. But can I tell you something about the shadow? I don't know if you know this. From a physical perspective, from a physical, like just real world, physical 3D dimension perspective, you only get the shadow when you're standing in front of something and it reveals something about yourself that you haven't seen. That's what gets the shadow, right? And the minute that you look over there to look at the shadow, it's not there anymore. You need that reflection in order to be able to handle that, right? But when I plugged into a circle of women that doing the same kind of deep soul work, and that my healing accelerated tenfold. It's not just about me anymore; it's about the collective. Now, to Gio's point, there are some communities that take you down, a downward spiral. So that this is where discernment comes in, right? Number two, I'm going to say that culture shapes compass. Your culture shapes your compass. You can't separate your spiritual path. Well, I'm not going to say that you can't separate your spiritual path from your cultural context. I'm going to say the cultural context informs your spiritual path. It informs how you pray, what you believe healing looks like, which ancestors you call on, if any at all, and even why you're doing this work in the first place. Right? Reclaiming your spiritual practice often means, especially for people of color, decolonizing your spirituality too, peeling back the layers of dogma or shame to remember the wisdom that's already in your bones. So, for example, one of the things that I loved about that movie, Sinners, is Sammy's the main character's relationship to the guitar. His father was a pastor, and he wanted him to put down the guitar because the guitar is going to lead you to the devil. And yet, the guitar was actually not only it didn't conjure the devil, it conjured his ancestors. It's another sermon for another Sunday. And it protected him from the vampire. Because eventually that guitar, which was the outward symbol of his gift, of, by the way, a God-given gift, that's the thing that protected him from the vampires that wanted to extract his gift, manipulate his gift. right? So the very thing that the pastor was telling him to put down was the thing that protected him and that made his way through his life. There's a Bible verse that says, your gift will make room for you and bring you to the presence of great men. And so, you know, you got to put on your critical thinking hat on and say, okay, hold on. If I believe in a divine creator and the divine creator created me this way, why would the divine creator create me in a way that I would have to put down the gifts he gave me? Why would I do that? Um, Point number 3 that I want to make, and that is that spiritual growth is relational. We grow and we evolve in the mirror of others. That's where real transformation happens, not just in the silence of a meditation cushion, but in the messy, holy grind of being seen, of being loved, sometimes being not loved, being challenged. You don't become the priestess of your life. You're the priest of your life in isolation. You get there in sacred sisterhood, in shared laughter, in the call and response of, I see you and I receive that. There's a call and response of life, right? So if you want a spiritually rich life, one that's not just personal, but powerful, you build or you join a community that holds your fire. Just like here in the Daily Huddle, we've built a community that holds your fire, that points a mirror at your greatness, reminds you of the things that you already know. I doubt very much that there are things that have been said here in the Daily Huddle that you didn't at least already know or have heard of. The point isn't to give you new information. The point is to remind you of that which you already possess and then inspire you to put it into action. Right? Lean into the cultural roots that raised you. Let them both be compass and altar. So what are some of the ways that you can foment that sense of community that you may already have? One of the things that I deeply was touched by was when I interviewed my elders about their spiritual practices growing up, their spiritual journey growing up. And I don't mean elders like, they have to be 3 generations removed. I mean my parents, right? My grandmother when she was still alive. Out of the 4 direct grandparents that I had, only one of them was alive when I was growing up. So sitting at her feet and asking her questions and asking my parents questions, that was fundamental. Revisit your cultural traditions, adapt them to your current rituals. There are certain things that you grew up doing that you maybe don't know why you did them that way. Revisit that. There may be some wisdom there. And there may be some wisdom in the reason why you walked away. And I'm going to say, if you're feeling disconnected, go serve someone. The fastest way to remember your purpose is to help someone else. And the shortcut for me when I'm sometimes feeling kind of like self-centered, I'm going to give it to you. When in doubt, focus out. So when I have any kind of doubt about what I'm doing, what I'm up to, et cetera, go focus out. Go give some to somebody else. And in that way, you'll remember, oh yeah, this is what I signed up for. Your power doesn't grow in a vacuum, it grows in a village. I'm going to say that again. Your power does not grow in a vacuum, it grows in the village. Right? So I would love to hear what has been the role for you of community or of culture in informing or guiding your spiritual journey? What has been, or maybe the not to do, right? Because sometimes one of the lessons that we learn is what to do or how to be. The opposite side of that is what not to do, how not to be. Yeah? Who's got something for me? Stacey, you said everybody wanted the blues or stories of triumph. What do you mean by that? You mean in the movie? Yeah. Gio, you've got
Yeah,
something?
it's in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Gio, you got something?
Dr. Ogando,
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a question.
Okay. Right after Gio.
Huh?
I'm gonna have you ask me that question right after Gio.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh. Jay, what you
Ah,
got?
sorry. Well, when you said how has how has community molded my spirituality, or how has it not? It's for me, the journey is really, for me, quite interesting, and I see it unfolding for my daughter as well. I told my grandmother, my grandmother was a real practicing Catholic,
Mhm.
and so inside of the Catholic faith, there is a particular affinity for Virgin Mary, and I think
Mhm.
more than other faiths. I mean, we have Virgin Marys for everything. There's like 500 of them,
Yes.
and 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 it is loved and adored in many different forms. And I said to her, "Well, I don't really believe in anything. I don't really believe in anything. It's hard to believe." I said to her when I was really young.
Mhm.
I was complaining about the hypocrisy of the family's behavior
Yeah.
in the way that they did things, and they didn't do things, and yet somehow we found a way to anchor ourselves on Sunday morning. So
Mhm.
it left me as a young age, just real questioning the the authenticity of people's motives, not just in my family, but in the community, society, and um, and it was all intuitional. I didn't have any evidence for what I was saying, but just I saw it.
Yeah.
And she said, "But you don't have to believe in anything. You believe whatever you want."
Ah, okay.
But I really thought that I was going to get killed because I was mad because she was making me go to church, right? And I don't
Nice.
know where I get this rebellious place to come from. I was too young, but I do remember the emotional impact of my grandmother saying, "Well, you don't have to believe in anything."
Mhm.
That was weird, and but
Wow.
it allowed questioning
Yeah.
as a safe space. She was a safe space for questioning. That was
Right.
pretty cool. That really
Yeah.
molded in many ways the rest of my life. And I have a daughter now, and she's 8, and her best friend is Muslim.
Mhm.
And I don't practice any faith. I'm quite Buddha about life. I meditate. I include her. I include the people in my life, and I go to all kind of churches. I love going to churches. I'm very Buddha about my life,
Yeah.
and I include her. She comes with me every now and then.
Mhm.
I honor the growth, the different the way faith has been revealed for different cultures. I honor it.
Yeah.
Something that I have passion for. But I don't
Nice.
really believe in anything. I just
Mhm.
honor it.
I think that's
And
a place to stand too.
there's a place to stand. And so my daughter's best friend tells her, "So you must believe in one God." And my daughter says, "I don't believe there's just one God. There's gotta be many gods." And I and her best friend got mad,
Mm,
like, oh my God. Like she's probably questioning her friendship. So she comes to me, she says, "My best friend is mad because I don't believe there's just one God. There's gotta be many gods."
mhm.
And I was like, so you don't believe in one God, you believe in many gods. She's like, "Yeah." And then I said, "Well, why do you believe in many and not just one or none?"
Mhm.
She says, "Because it doesn't make sense. God's going to be all alone. Why would God want to be alone?"
Oh. And there goes the sense of community once again.
Yeah,
That's
right. And I was like, I really got enrolled. I was like, "Yeah, Pobrecito God. Why would you want to be alone?
Pobrecito God.
Yeah, poor guy or poor girl or poor, essence. There's gotta be many gods. It cannot just
Yes,
be one." So she
for the
enrolled me.
lover. Yeah.
And anyway, I wanted to share that story.
That's adorable. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. See, even in the way that we imagine God in community too. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Stan, come on down.
I'll tell you, boy, what Gio just finished saying made me just want to wipe out what I was thinking about.
Oh,
Because
but you still
that
say it.
I know, but that was really deep. That's really,
That
really
was
deep.
deep,
You
yes.
know, because that child said that God would be alone, and
Mm-hmm.
what we believe, and we so have evidence to support, is that God was alone, and He
Mm,
made all of us as
right.
other gods.
So that he wouldn't be alone, right?
Exactly. Say, man, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make all these other gods. All these other,
Yeah.
little gods like myself.
Yes.
But in any way, what I
In
want,
fact, in the Bible, supposedly he made Adam, and then he made Eve so that Adam wouldn't be alone.
yeah,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
yeah, and we are gods.
Right.
We are gods. So, but
That's
anyway,
right.
my question to you,
Yes.
and it was all pretty much off the subject, but I've been really trying to think about this. Anything that we can pretty much ask God for, we already got it. You
Say
know,
more. Say more
we-
about that.
we've already got it. So it make I'm at the point right now we're listening to a Course in Miracles. I'm listening on
Mm-hmm.
on audio,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, it's like I don't know how to really. I think about it. I'm 71 years old now, and I thought I always understood. Brought up in a religious environment, exposed to other religions and everything. I thought I knew how to pray. But now I
Ah,
don't know. I don't think I really know how to pray because there's nothing we can ask God for that God hasn't already given us.
yeah.
So it's like, my question to you is: do you know a good prayer?
Yeah, gratitude.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Considering what you just said, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but not just
And
considering what I just said. Do you have any real guidance on that other than that?
I mean, I think your prayer life is evolving, right? Prayer evolves because sometimes it is a to-do list. Sometimes it is a to-do list. Here, God, here's what you are tasked with today to give me to make possible whatever the case may be, right? So sometimes it's a to-do list, and sometimes it's really just praise and worship. And I don't know that I can give you like a formula or whatever. Let me give you a personal story. You guys have heard me say that when I hear romantic songs, when I hear love songs, I filter it through, I listen to them like it's either God singing to your soul or your soul singing to God. If you listen through that filter, you can even enjoy the song differently and maybe at a deeper level. So, for example, when I hear Beyonce Love on Top, right? She says, honey, it's you. But I say, spirit, it's you. You're the one I love. You're the one I need. You're the one that comes when I call, right? And finally, I put your love on top, not you put my love on top, right? And I was alone in my house the other day, and I just put on some Anita Baker as I was cleaning, and I was listening to the song "Giving You the Best That I Got." But of course, you know that I have this filter of love songs are usually God singing to me or me singing to God. And for me, giving you the best that I got is me singing to God. Because the song says, ain't there something I can give you in exchange for all the things you give to me? Child, I got I got my praise and worship on. Well, Ingrid, your picture has this beautiful hat that looks like Easter Sunday or Kentucky Derby. And I was feeling like that. Yes, Daisy, Anita will take you there. And so that for me is another form of prayer, Stan. This idea that you can just, in the moment, while listening to a modern song, go back to an ancient feeling of praise, of worship, of reverence, right? When I watch a movie and I see the Christ message in that movie through the hero's journey, that's another form of prayer of just like wherever I go, there you are, right? Isn't that what David said to God in the Psalms? And so prayer could take many forms. It's not just pleading, it's also praise. Yeah. It's also seeking for guidance. It's also sometimes, and we may, what I'm about to say may register to some people like you're weaponizing the relationship. But our children do this very well, and I recommend that you do it too. Whatever it is that you find solace in, any kind of sacred scripture, whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Course in Miracles, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, whatever, there's somewhere in there that God speaks to his people, her people. And when you use that and say, now listen, you did say, come, let us reason together in Isaiah. So if this don't make any sense, then I'm going to need your help to make sense out of this. That's a prayer. You know, sometimes we think, oh, it's got to be so solemn. It's got to be so, ooh, perfect or whatever. Sometimes the prayer is, now, God, I got to get to this appointment at 9 o'clock. And I left on time. What are you doing with this Atlanta traffic? Help a sister out, right? Ingrid, you got something?
Yes, I want to agree with you on that in regards to the prayer, because it
Mm-hmm.
has to be like people think it has to be like this formal form of communication. It could
Right.
just be like, God, just carry me through this moment. I do what I call whisper prayers throughout the day, just communicating, just talking like I'm talking to somebody that's
Yes.
sitting next to me.
Yes.
Sometimes I might do it slowly under my breath. If somebody next to me, they can hear me, or I might do it mentally in my mind. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not a particular time, place, or way to pray. And praying is not always, I love you and I appreciate
Yes.
you. And that's
You're so right.
it.
If you had a friend who's always only calling you when they want something, you'd be ignoring their calls too.
Yeah. So that's my input.
I love it. Thank you so much. Good stuff. Gio, I saw your hand next. And then Rashida.
Yeah, I was before you came in today, I was talking to Liz about Bob Marley and
Mm-hmm.
he's community, right? Or he was community. He is community, actually. His ideas and being lives within many of us. And I highly disagree with his lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he has been such a spiritual leader for me
Mm-hmm.
in so many ways. So this morning I was having um, somewhat of an epiphany. I can't quite recognize it as an epiphany, but it was somewhat of an epiphany, like, wow, this guy has been such an influence, spiritual influence for me,
Mm-hmm.
while I've been disagreeing with the manner in which he chose his lifestyle.
Mm. Right.
So it's quite an interesting dichotomy, if you will. And anyway, I
Yes.
wanted to add that to the conversation.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's great. I think you're right to point out that there are the message, especially as we interpret it, can be perfect for us even if the messenger is not. So
Yeah,
that's
I haven't seen that before.
yeah, yeah, that's
It's
great.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Good
yeah.
stuff. Rashida, what you got?
Community.
Grand rising, everyone. Grand rising. I I came on when you were saying about the spirituality and the vacuum that we, and then I listened to Gio and I started to go back into the rabbit hole when I turned 12 years old. My mom is a Seventh-day Adventist, and I didn't want to go back, keep going back to the church because I remember going to Sabbath school and everybody said, "Oh, you came 2 weeks ago with that dress. Oh, you came 4 weeks ago with that dress." And I was like, wait a minute. So I went home back and I said to my mom, I said, "Mom, I didn't know I'm going to a fashion runway. And she said, what do you mean? I said, everybody will come with new dress every Saturday. If they don't have a new dress, they don't come to church. And I am not going to church to render my garment.
Mm.
And here's where I started to say to my mom, I said, I'm not going back to church. She said, oh, you cannot live in my house if you don't go to church. You cannot live in my. I said, okay, no problem. I'm moving out. She said, you're 12 years old. I said, I am not going back to church. And I called my oldest sister, that right now she's 72 years old. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, Brenda, you think I can move in with you? She said, you want my mother to kill me? You crazy girl. And eventually I explained to my sister what was going on. And she said, okay, let me speak to my mom and I will make you know if you can move in with me. She came to my mom and she said, oh, Rashida want to move in with me. She said, you can take her, but you and she gonna don't talk to me anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where I started with my spirituality so strong. I moved with my sister. I started to go to the Anglican church. I went into the choir. I went to the Girl Scout. I was so community based.
Mm-hmm.
And there is where I started strongly
Mm.
believing that my spirituality is started in, not outside of anybody, not looking in
Yeah,
anybody else, but in
absolutely.
me. And until today, I still strongly believe that my fast journey and my spirituality connection, it was, it started with me. Remember, if I discovered my mom, it was like, wait a minute, it was not disrespectful. It was the person that I want to grow up to be. And
Yeah,
until today, I still doing it. I was
yeah,
like, wow. So
yeah.
when you say that vacuum, no, no, no. It started in us. And the prayer
Mm-hmm.
movement is just like what you say is gratitude. You have to be grateful. You have to be grateful to waking up. Who wake you up? Who get you that strength? Who give you that courage? Who give you that drive?
Yeah,
Gratefulness,
yeah.
gratefulness, and that is what I take away this morning from all the expectation that is in.
Oh,
And
that's
like
so
I said,
good.
it's
Yeah,
6:25
yeah.
in San Francisco this morning. I said I gotta get up and run.
Nice,
So
nice.
thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you, Gio. Thank you so much, Mastermind Stan. Thank you so much, Doctor.
that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. That's beautiful. And thank you all for being here. Stacy, we're gonna leave with your comment on the chat. Stacy says, prayer is simple communication, like with a homie. Like with a homie. So, that sense of community, that sense of culture that can inform your spiritual path. Use it to inform it, to educate it, to shape it. Use it all, right? It's one of the reasons why in the Hindu culture, in the Hindu religion, the cow is sacred, is not because the cow is special. It's because there's so many uses for the cow. You use their meat for food, you use their skin for cover, there's so many uses that it's like we cannot just discard this thing because we don't like one particular part of it. And so it's the same with our community. It's the same with culture. We cannot just discard Bob Marley because we don't agree with his lifestyle. There's so much more there. And so let's use our culture and our community to inform our spiritual path, not in spite of it. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. We appreciate you so much. Remember to love generously, to give of your time, energy, attention, to get yourself at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you're like me, nine more like it. Nine is more like it. Eat more plant-based foods, stress less, exercise. Remember that twerking is a spiritual exercise. It raises your kundalini energy up your spine. And, you know, give, right? And then always audit your assumptions. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. We love you. See you next time.